OneUp Components version 2 dropper post. These retail for only $1.99. That goes for the old post. Now you can pick up the version 1 for much cheaper if you can still find them online. But even the version 2 post is still coming in at $1.99. But I didn't want just a cheap post. I wanted a post that was reliable. I wanted a post that was cable actuated. The version 1 post was cable actuated. I had no issues with the cable or the actuation of that post ever. I'm assuming that these are going to be just as good. Also, OneUp claims to have the shortest insertion length of any dropper post available, which is awesome because I love the way that it looks when you can slam the post almost all the way into the frame and you don't have an excess amount of the post sticking up out, but you still get a long drop, relatively speaking. On my Kona Big Hanzo, the reason I went with the version 1, I was able to fit a 170 when the bike actually only came with a 125 RockShox reverb. I could tell a huge difference in going from a 125 drop to a 170 drop. And so I highly recommend, if you're looking to upgrade these OneUp posts, especially I think you'll notice the big difference in increasing that amount of drop. It just allows you to get that post even lower when you're going through the rough, but then still have plenty of saddle height for when you're pedaling. Unboxing, here we go. Pretty excited to dig in here. Super minimalist packaging on the last one, same for this one. And that's literally what you see is what you get. Now again, OneUp claims to have the shortest insertion length, and I indeed was able to get all the way up to almost the edge of the actual post there on the Kona Big Hanzo. I'm hoping to be able to do that on this current bike build. If you're like me and you're putting this post into a Santa Cruz, take a note that you actually have to get a different actuator if you have one of the Santa Cruzes with a low slung shock. And the website, OneUp, will give you a list of what bikes require that, but I'm actually going to have to take this actuator out, put this one in, which shouldn't be a big deal. The cable actually hooks into here instead of at the actuator, which I really like because it makes it super reliable. You're not worried about having to screw in the cable to this side and then worry about it pulling out while you're on the bike. And again, I was very impressed on the version 1 with how smooth the post was. So I'm hoping for the same for this. I'm going to show you the install and then I'm going to give you some ride impressions. I've already got my housing cut to size. I'm going to take a standard shift cable. As you can see here, the barrel of the shift cable will actually go on the actuator there. If you have the barrel will fit into it just like this, but be sure that you have your O-ring over that. The barrel will go there, and then this slides up and over like so to hold the actual shift cable on. If you're like me and you have the Santa Cruz actuator, it's going to go on like that. You want to pull out the cable slack closest to the bike. That will then pull it in tight to the housing. At that point you want to try to keep the cable tension at the top of the bike as well as you can, and pull the housing and the shift cable through at the same time. Once you get your seat post height where you want it, we've already threaded the shift cable through. Run it through your cable clamping dropper remote, and then we will just tighten the cable up onto that nut and we should be good to go. Maintenance on the OneUp version 2 and even the version 1 dropper post, that's one of the high points. It's super easy to do a quick service of it. If you want to service what they call the upper bushing, you would want to do this if it's just getting a little bit stiff or sticky. You can actually loosen this collar. Before you do that though, you're actually going to want to lower the seat somewhat. You can actually do this service while it's on the bike. If it's off the bike, so if it's all the way in the extended position, you can depress the actuator and then you can push in. Again, you'll unscrew this collar with the post, depress somewhat, move that up and out of the way, and then if the bike is, or if the post is still on your bike, you would just hit your dropper lever and extend it out just a little bit until you can expose this white collar here. Pull the white collar out We're going to actually try it again, just to try to get that white collar to come out better. There it comes. And once you get that white collar out, you're going to want to take some Shram butter, slick oleum grease, something like that. Put a liberal amount around the collar, or this white bushing rather, even on the actual post below it. Slide this back down. And that's literally the quick service for the OneUp. You really can't beat that. So I got my first bike with an actual dropper post about 4 years ago. Since that time I've had multiple posts from KS or Kind Shocks. I've had a Trans-X post. I've even had a few different RockShox reverbs. I've been running this version 1 OneUp post on the Kona Big Hanzo for about a year now. I've been running the version 2 OneUp dropper for about 2.5 months on the new Santa Cruz Hightower. I can honestly say that the reliability and performance, the overall riding experience, has been the best with both of these posts in comparison to any post that I've ran in the past up to this point. I've really appreciated the increased drop with both of these posts. Prior to having this 170 post, the longest drop was a 150. It was noticeable going to the 170. It's even more noticeable going to the 180. It would be hard for me to imagine even going back to a 150 after having the ability to slam the post all the way down and out of the way, but still have a good amount of saddle height for seated climbing and pedaling. If you like the thought of having the reliability of having a cable actuated post, look no further. I have had cable actuated posts in the past that were really difficult to set up and install because you had to get the cable length just right. These are much easier to install. If you ever did have to change your shift cable, it would be super easy to do that. I would imagine it would be even easy to do that trail side if you ever had a reason to do that. It's worth mentioning as well, I'm in no way affiliated with OneUp Components. I actually paid MSRP for both of these posts, and if I were in the market for another dropper post, I would probably be glad to do it again, because again, the overall riding experience of these posts, they're super smooth. There's never been one moment where I felt like I had to jump off from the pedals and then slam my butt into the seat because it was so sticky and wouldn't go down, or you have to use your inner thigh to lift up the seat to get it to come all the way up. It's just a non-issue with these posts. And so for me, there's not much more to say about a dropper post. If it's reliable and if it's not sticky and performs well, I've not even had to add air to either post in the year that I've owned this or the 2.5 months that I've owned this. And so if you're in the market for a dropper post that has a max amount of drop but only costs $200, I think it would be hard to beat the OneUp post, and so check it out. I would encourage you to go to the OneUp website, do find out what is the maximum post height, because they have different ones. They have, I think, a 150 post, a 180 post, now 210 post. Figure out what's the max amount of drop that you can run on your bike, and I would strongly encourage you to get the biggest one that you can get. If you have any comments or questions, please put those below. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, stay tuned for more reviews coming up soon. Thanks for watching.